So let me make sure that we're recording, and we are. Hi, everybody. This is the Toyota presentation by the Toyota team here in our course on strategic management. This is our MBA course. And we would appreciate it if all of you would please turn off your camera and your microphone. And we appreciate members of the class stopping in to join us in this presentation. I see that we've got the whole Harley-Davidson team here now. But this is the Toyota team tonight. And you see the members of the Toyota team on your screen. And I think the best thing for me to do is to get out of the way and let this team get started. So Amber is going to be our presenter. And Amber, I think if you would care to share your screen now, we can get started. You got a nice picture of your wedding pictures there. Okay. Toyota team, please get started.
So my name is Amber. I've had the pleasure of working with Maria, Jeffrey, and Julian on Toyota's strategic management analyst. And that's what we're going to present here tonight, is tell you more about the strategies of Toyota.
Hold on. Charnel, please turn off your camera and your microphone. Latonia, turn off your camera and your microphone, please.
Okay, I am.
Okay.
Okay, we are going to start with the history and the important facts for Toyota. The most important thing that we can say is that Toyota Motor is a Japanese automobile manufacturer headquartered in Tokyo, Japan. So actually, the head of the company is in Tokyo, Japan. The company was founded by Ishiro Toyota in 1937, and it has been a great company. Toyota Motor Company produces vehicles under 5 brands. It has been including the Toyota brand, Hino, Lexus, Rance, and Daihatsu. In March 2014, the multinational corporation consisted in 338,875 employees. As you see, it's a very big company. All these employees are located worldwide. On February 2016 was the 13th largest company in the world by this revenue. Toyota was the largest automobile manufacturer in 2012 by the production, ahead of Volkswagen and GM. In July of that year, the company reported the production of 200 million vehicles. This company also is the world market leader in sales, and is very known for the hybrid electric vehicles, and is one of the largest companies that encourage the mass market adoption of hybrid vehicles across the globe. So as you see, this company has a very important facts that later we are going to analyze in deep. Now, the most important things in the history of Toyota, we have that in 1990, Toyota, Amber, if you can put the slide before, please. That, okay. In 1929, Kishiro Toyota traveled to Europe and to USA to investigate automobiles. So the story starts here. In 1936, Toyota created the logo and Toyota model is established. In 1947, it starts production of trucks and compact passenger cars. In 1950, the Toyota company had some problems with the financially, and they have financial crisis, and they have some later dispute that later was resolved. In 1956, Toyota started to create operations with dealerships. In 1958, as you probably have listened before, they have some manufacturers in other countries. So in 1958, it starts in Brazil. In 1962, they have the Joint Declaration for Labor, so they create their working union in 1962. And one more important thing in that year is that 1 million of vehicles was produced domestically. In 1965, one of the most important things that have happening to Toyota, and one of the characteristics that differentiate this company with other ones is that their quality is very high, and that's why they got the Deming Prize in 1965.
Maria, excuse me. Tracy, please turn off your microphone and your camera. Okay, go ahead, Maria.
I'm trying, I don't know how.
There's a button there where you can, I think it's got a slash mark through the camera, and over on the left lower hand corner you see your microphone and you can click mute. Okay, now look for your camera, and you can can anybody here tell Tracy how to turn her camera off?
Tracy, when you go,
I don't have a camera.
No, when you go to the presentation, on the bottom you see different icons in the presentation. That are part of the presentation. Did you see them? You have a microphone on the left, and next video.
The next one is stop video.
That one is the one. Oh no, you don't need to stop. Let me see. Actually, I think that you can stop the video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jeff, you're pretty good at this. Jeff, do you know how to do it?
Tracy, it's Bridget. It does say stop video. If you say stop video, your picture will go away.
Yes.
That is true.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
You got it.
There we go. Okay. We can start again now.
Okay. In 1967, Toyota made a partnership with the Daihatsu Motor, and actually we found that in here in this year, in 2016, Toyota is trying to acquire this company. So we will talk about it later in our slides. In 1975, their cumulative exports reached 5 million units. In 1984, GM and Toyota joined a venture in the USA. We are going to talk about that too in the future. And also the new United Motor Manufacturing Inc. starts to work in 1984. In 1989, the Lexus dealerships are established in the United States. In 1990, Toyota Motor Europe Marketing and Engineering is established, Toyota production and sales of the first hybrid car. In 2005, we see that Toyota manufacturing starts in Russia. As I said before, we are going to have many manufacturing companies in different parts around the world. Now, in 2008, Toyota starts in Australia, Thailand, and Canada. In 2010, Toyota and Tesla agree in a joint venture. And also something really, I would say negative starts to happen to the company in 2020 when the company experienced brakes recalls. In 2011, Toyota and Microsoft Strategic have a partnership. This partnership is we're gonna talk deeply in the next slides. In 2012, Toyota and BMW agree a collaboration agreement for the electric cars, and as I say to you, we will explain later. In 2015, Toyota starts to be interested to work in the robotics and the artificial intelligence. So these are the most important things for the history of Toyota. Okay, for the Toyota's mission and vision, Toyota's mission focuses on offering transportation with advanced technology to fulfill the mobility needs of the world. In addition, Toyota provides clean and safe products with high quality and competitive price. Toyota's vision is to become the market leader by leading the way to the future of mobility and engaging the most talented employees into the car production. Okay, we have some facts about Toyota here. Toyota started by making automated looms in 1924, and the profits were later used to invest in automobiles. And 80% of the Toyotas were sold 20 years ago, and today, some of those cars are still on the road. Other important fact is that Toyota Motor headquarters are located in Tokyo, and we found that the company counts with 53 plants around the world, including 14 in the United States. Toyota has created 365,000 jobs in the United States, and there are 1,506 Toyota, Scion, Lexus dealers in the United States. One of the biggest plants here in the United States is the one located in Georgetown, Kentucky. Toyota's resiliency and efficiency has been helping the company to recover promptly after natural disasters such as Fukushima earthquakes and floods in 2011, as well as the accidents such as the Aisin fire in 1997. The company has a very good efficiency manufacturing program that what we found is that after the Aisin fire, the company actually 3 days later started the production again of their cars. So this company is very solid. A vehicles manufactured by Toyota on 2012, where we also found that the company has sold nearly 75% of all the hybrids in the United States. Toyota's major competitors are Ford and GM in the US and Honda in Japan. Now we're gonna talk about the economic analysis. As you can see in this slide, we have the regional sales comparison, for 2007 and 2006. If you see both slides, you find that Toyota has become less dependent on its own market and more dependent in the American market. As you see in the first slide, America used to have 29% of sales or market in the sales department, and now they have 31%. The sales in Asia have been doubled since 2007. European market has been stagnant, and Toyota sales have decreased in Europe. Sales have remained proportionally similar in other regions. Next. Okay, for the GDP PPP for 2000 to 2021, if you notice, as all of you may know by now, the gross domestic product is a measure of the overall production in a country. It is the total market value of all goods and services produced in a country during a period of time. This information is important to us because it can show how the production of the products in Toyota is for different countries compared with Japan, China, Europe, and the US. As you can see also in this slide, China has very good GDP. Next, please. For the GDP per capita between 2000 and 2021, we can actually see that US, Europe, and Japan were hit really hard by the 2008 financial crisis. However, China is, instead of decreasing, pick up the production pretty fast after that year. As you may see, China is a remarkable economy. This graph shows also that the GDP per capita and has a projection, how the GDP will be all the way to 2021. As you can see, China will pick it up its production pretty fast compared with other countries. Now we have here sales by region. If you notice in the slide here, this is a very good slide because it can show you what happened with the recession in 2008. It didn't affect only the US sales, but also other countries such as Japan were hurt by this crisis as well. If you can see this graph, Japan is the orange line. It was pretty hit, as well as the US, the black line. You may also notice that Japanese economy is going down more than the US. In addition, Toyota is having problems selling their cars in China because of the culture issues. However, Toyota is still selling cars in China, and it is still trying to penetrate that market. Next. Okay, the total Toyota annual sales. This graph shows us the total annual sales between 2007 and 2016. We can see that the financial crisis in the US affected in a big portion the Toyota sales. The impact on the automobile industry was severe due to more strict screening of auto loans in the United States and other countries, as well as other factors. New car markets rapidly cooled, particularly in developed countries. As the effects of the financial crisis spread to the real economy, Toyota and the Emergency Profit Improvement Committee could help with the company to get better sales. When it announced financial results for the second quarter in November 2008, Toyota found out that their sales was going down from 600 billion to 550 billion yens. things start to look better, as you guys can see in this graph, in 2012, when the company started to increase their sales because the company has adopted new strategies such as marketing and innovation. Unemployment rate is very important for us also to see, I'm sorry, if you can see the countries, Japan, United States, China, and Euro area, you can see how the unemployment worked for in each one of those countries between 2000 and 2021. This slide, as we heard yesterday from our classmates in Harley Davidson, they were talking about this slide as well. This slide is talking about the interest rate. This interest rate is really good for the automobile market because people has more access to buy cars, and the loans have lower rates for them to access or buy a car. This slide is talking about the 20-year Treasury constant maturity rate. This is for loans such as mortgages. You can see that since 1984, it has been going up and down, but right now in 2016, the interest rate is pretty low. So it's actually a good time for the market in this part of the loans.
Let's take a look at that slide a minute. What do you guys think the significance of this slide is? Maybe we can give Maria a little rest there. She's got a rough throat. Jeff or Julian, what is the significance of this slide? Why are low long-term interest rates important to Toyota?
Well, their cost of their debt is cheaper.
Well, Amber, you want to take a shot?
I actually forgot to say, if you guys allow me, that the investment, when the loans on 20 years, for example, this is good for Toyota because the machinery and the equipment, sometimes those loans, when you do leasings, you have leasings 10 years, 15 years, or you buy, when you buy machinery, you can afford 5 years of a loan. So you need to probably get a loan of 20 years. So this will help Toyota to get plants and equipment.
Yeah, the significance of these long-term rates is simply that they affect Toyota's cost. As you noticed earlier, Toyota has had a history of moving in to foreign countries. And it has had to because Japan is a relatively small market. And so Toyota is building plants in this country and other countries. And as Maria says, not only are they building the buildings, but they're outfitting them with machinery and equipment. So the smart thing to do is to acquire those fixed assets with borrowed money. And as this chart shows, in recent years, that has been a very inexpensive thing to do because interest rates are so low. Okay.
Okay, here we have some conclusions for the economy. The interest rates for loans have decreased steadily since 1985. You can notice that in our last two slides for interest rate, for the 5-year and the 20-year. This is a great situation for corporations that make investments in new plants and equipment, as we just say, for the automobile market. And actually, this is good too because customers can afford to pay loans more easily, is what I said in the slide of 5 years loan. After the 2008 economic recession, Toyota sales decreased significantly in about 2-digit decline. In addition, Toyota had to suspend the sales of 8 models after a safety recall. So these have been some negative factors that have been affecting Toyota. And this is actually part of the environment as well, the economic environment. So that's why we add this here. In 2011, an earthquake and a tsunami hit Japan and 4 of the Toyota plants were closed. This also affected the company, of course, because if we have a manufacturing company where they already have planned a production for a year and these kind of things, natural things that you cannot control happen, the company needs to stop working and the production and the sales go down. So that is really bad for the company. However, Toyota resiliency and efficiency helped the company to return to normal levels at the beginning of 2012. The gross domestic product graph shows that US and China are the largest economies, and I'm sure that you guys could probably see it when you were looking at this slide. And after 2012, the economies of the US, Europe, China, and Japan are growing, as well as the production of goods and services. So that actually has been a very good year for all these countries because their production started to pick up again. Projections of unemployment in the US and Europe show decreasing growth rates. In China and Japan, the unemployment rate will be steady, neither increasing or decreasing. This means that most of the individuals in these countries will be employed. So that's really, really good.
So next I'm going to talk to you about the market analysts for Toyota. Vehicle sales in the five largest economies, we can see here from 2009 to 2013, and China constantly every year dominated the sales. United States was not far behind, and then you can see Japan, Germany, and France were lower in sales in vehicles during those years. Our population in China and India from 2000 to 2021 of projections, you can see that India is constantly growing at a faster rate than China throughout the years. Our population for Europe, Brazil, Japan, and United States doesn't seem to be growing as fast as China and India. You can see they're more flat lines. They're growing, but not as fast as China and India. So that brings us to paved roads and unpaved roads by country with our population. We see that our population is growing, but do we have the paved and unpaved roads to accommodate the automobile travels in those countries? So that's the purpose of this graph here, is to show the population in China, Japan, United States, and India compared to paved roads and unpaved roads. One thing I would like to call attention to here is for the part for unpaved roads for India, you see there's none. And India actually has less population than China, but no unpaved roads.
No. It's not that they don't have any unpaved roads. It's just that their record keeping is so poor that we don't know how many there are.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So that brings us to our next point of the paved roads. Since they don't have any data on the unpaved roads, we can only assume what the paved roads quality is going to be, if they have good quality paved roads or if they're bad roads for those automobile travels. So population, paved versus unpaved roads, what does this mean for each population? As we stated already, for every 100,000 people in China, there are approximately 35 miles of paved road and half mile of unpaved road. For every 100,000 people in Japan, there are approximately 10 miles of paved road and 2 miles of unpaved road. For every 100,000 people in the United States, there are approximately 43 miles of paved road and 23 miles of unpaved road. For every 100,000 people in India, there are approximately 47 miles of paved road and no data on per CIA database of unpaved road in India.
I guess I know you're going to give us a couple of conclusions here, Amber, but if you could put those bar charts back just a second. And this team's heard me say it, but I'll just say it for, the one you had. There we go. It's just remarkable that India allegedly has a higher density of paved road than China. India's famous for transportation companies having a heck of a time in India because the roads are so bad that you can't transport stuff around India, particularly from the coast to the interior. So I guess they've got paved roads. It's just that the paved roads are lousy. At least that's India's reputation. But when one looks at a chart like this, it just reminds me that we need to be very careful. I asked this team to prepare this slide, so I'm really criticizing myself here. Miles of paved road per capita should tell us the opportunity to put more cars on them. And I suppose that when we look at the bar chart for China, it looks like China's got a long way to go before they are able, before they start running up to the limits, assuming that the United States is pretty densely populated with paved roads. China's got a long way to go, and they've got a lot larger population and area that we do. But when I look at this bar for India, I'm just flabbergasted because it shouldn't be that way, and yet there it is. And somehow we have to deal with the facts rather than impressions. So India may be a better looking market for cars than I had thought. Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Dr. Ronnie. So in addition to Dr. Ronnie's comments, did you notice that China has the greatest population but the least unpaved roads? So there's less unpaved roads per capita. So we have a growing market in China. United States has less population than China but has denser highways. So we have more paved roads than China. United States also has more unpaved roads than China. And Japan has the least population, least paved roads, and least unpaved roads. India has the most paved roads among other countries, as we've seen in that previous graph. So next, that brings us to our licensed driving trend of who is operating on those roads. What are our licensed drivers? So for the age group of 16 to 44, from 1983 to 2014, you can see that there's a decline in our licensed drivers. So there's a trend that is declining in how many licenses that we're providing for people to operate automobiles, which brings us to your urbanization. Younger adults are moving to the cities. 70% of the world's population will live in cities by 2030. So that's less than 15 years that we're looking at most of our adults living in the cities. With that being said, younger consumers are less interested in driving and owning a car when they live in cities because they would rather just use public transportation that's available and used in cities and close suburbs. Abundance of transportation sharing services like taxi cabs and services at the touch of an app on a cell phone, iPad, or computer like Uber, where you can get discounted rates and not have to have the cost of owning an automobile, taxes, license, insurance. It's cheaper for them to use public transportation. And also, electric is the new gas. Looking at electric cars, recharging stations are emerging across the United States, especially in California, as an alternative to fueling vehicles by electric versus gas. Currently in the United States, there's over 14,000 electric stations and over 38,000 charging outlets as seen on the map below. So electric is becoming the new gas. It's more economical, and that's becoming the consumer's choice in automobiles. So electric versus gas, the benefits. We can see increased energy security and reduced reliance in the United States of imported fueling through the use of hybrid electric vehicles. Hybrids use less fuel and are employed through electric drive technologies to boost the efficiency. Hybrid and plug-in vehicles have zero tailpipe emissions when in electric mode, so it's more healthy for our environment. Electric vehicles have increasing battery lives with a warranty of 8 years or 100,000 miles, which is more of a battery life than on batteries for automobiles. So our estimated connected car revenues from 2015 to 2022, these are estimate forecasts for safety, the central danger warning, automatic collision detection and prevention. We can see the forecast for 2022 is $48.2 billion. Autonomous driving, distance, parking, traffic signal and recognition, being able to park assist, we can see $58.9 billion in 2022. Connected services for mobility and vehicle management, entertainment, navigation, being able to get where we're going without having to have a map being plugged into that car automatically. We can see the forecast for that is $42.8 billion in 2022. So this tells us here, as you can see, just looking at the chart, we're moving towards more technology, hybrid safety, autonomous connected service driving as technology advances. Next, automobiles accidents in the United States from 1975 to 2014. We can see breaks in there. We drop up, we go down. But the thing I would like to call attention to is from 1992 to 2007, we remained kind of constant. And then from 2007 to 2009, we dropped down in automobile accidents, which sounds good because we want less accidents in the roads and on the roadways. But that brings attention to what we faced from 2007 to 2009, 2010 in the recession. We had less people out on the roads because less people could afford to be out on the roads. People were getting their cars repossessed, interest rates were high, gas prices were high. So when we have less people on the road, we have less opportunity for accidents. So that's why there's, my perception is in research is that's why there's a dip in the automobile accidents, which is what we want to see, but it's not good for Toyota because less people were buying vehicles and owning vehicles.
It's rather interesting that this pattern really does repeat itself. We had a pretty steep recession in 1981, 2 and 3, and you can see we had a reduction in accidents then. Then we had a recession in 1991, and again we had a reduction in accidents. So I think Amber's really hit the nail on the head here. The economic recessions have a lot of bad consequences, but one of them is not the effect on accident rates. But unfortunately, the reason accidents go down is because people can't drive as much in a recession. Remarkable.
And that leads us to the percentage change in total traffic fatalities from 1965 to 2015. Once again, during that recession time of kind of history repeating itself, you can see the drops up, the drops down. And when we have less people on the roads, we have less fatalities, less accidents. Also with gasoline prices, which we've already mentioned previously, but here in this graph, you can see from 1994 to 2015, the changes in gas prices. A constant change up, excluding from 2009 and 2008, we did drop down in price there, but everything else has been consistent as far on the climb of gas prices. We did notice a drop down from 2014 to 2015. Prices have lowered some, but when gas prices go higher, that's when your Corollas, your Priuses, your vehicles that are more economical as far as gas prices, those are going to be the consumer's choices, where your SUVs, your trucks, those vehicles that consume more gas, when gas prices are higher, they're not going to be the consumer's choice because a lot of times if you're buying an SUV or truck, you're paying more money than you are for a car, then you can't afford gas prices if they continuously climb higher. So that brings us to our market's conclusion. The demand for cars depends on paved roads because we've got to have roads to drive those cars on. There are more paved roads per capita in the United States and India with less unpaved roads per capita in China. We have a high growth potential in China. Urbanization has led to fewer drivers in the market and fewer needs to purchase automobiles, making it difficult for Toyota and other automobile manufacturers. So it's not just Toyota here that is facing that, it's all automobile manufacturers because less people are driving, more people are moving to cities where they're using the public transportation, usually free or at a low cost. The market is dependent upon gas prices. If gas prices go up, demand goes down. Also, automobile accidents is depending on how many people is out on the road, how many people are driving, as we've seen in the markets. Which leads us to our next industry analyst, which is Julian's going to talk to us about.
How's it going, guys? I'll be starting the industry analysis. This slide here is the Toyota product line. So Toyota has cars and minivans, trucks, crossovers, and SUVs, and hybrid FCV cars. The Toyota Corolla is the most popular car by Toyota and is one of the world's best seller. The Toyota Corolla has sold over 40 million units since 1966. The Toyota Prius is also the hybrid electric vehicle of choice around the world. Also,
Sorry.
Okay. Also, the Toyota Corolla is the most popular car sold in Japan, and the subsidiaries of Toyota are Lexus, Hino Motors, Rans, and Daihatsu. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so this slide here is the global market vehicle sales. What you'll see here is that China is the largest automotive market. In this slide, the global motor vehicle sales have grown by nearly 3% each year for the past 2 decades. The growth in North America, Europe, and Japan have been relatively flat. And if you can see from what Amber talked about, that in Japan, that Japan has gone down slightly as the years go on. Also that most of the growth has come from emerging markets like China, which over the past decade, auto sales there have tripled. You can go to the next slide. Here's the top 20 motor vehicle production countries in 2015. If you look at this slide, it's kind of eye-popping how much of the China controls. China's car market is twice as large as America's market, and it is 3 times the size of Japan's market. And it's
Maybe not market, but output. Some of China's production is exported, but I think the market also is almost twice as large as the U.S. That's just a very tiny detail. You've definitely got it right. China's twice as big as the U.S.
Okay. And it's about twice the size of Western Europe's market. Next slide. And this slide is the auto production by country from 1950 to 2015. What you'll see here and notice here that in the 2000 is the beginning of the rise of China as a top producer. And you'll also notice here that from 2008 to 2010 is that auto industry crisis where we were in a recession and people weren't buying too many cars. You go to the next slide. Here is the global auto industry market shares. You can also see here that in the 2000s, China increased production drastically. 2009, China became the world's largest producing country. China has about 25.4% share of the market, and USA has about 12.7% share.
I think, I'm sorry, Julian.
It's okay. If you add up Japan, USA,
Yeah.
Germany, France, and the UK, they control about 34% of the market share.
What really grabs my attention for some of us who were around in those days when Japan made the big push and sort of took over or surpassed the American producers and captured a large share of the market in the United States, we were all impressed because the Japanese manufacturers just had so much better quality than the Americans. And we can see in the 1980s which a big, wide share of this diagram or this picture Japan has. It's the yellow swath in the middle of the diagram. But we then see that in the last decade or decade and a half, Japan's market share has really shrunk. Quite remarkable. So they start out relatively small in 1960. They get real fat in the 80s, and then starting in the 90s, things begin to change, and we can see where the majority of that change is occurring, and it's in the top of this chart where the Chinese are coming in. What a dramatic change this picture shows.
Go to the next slide. So here are the top competitors What you'll see here is that Toyota and Volkswagen are at the top from 2015. Nissan and Renault are partners in a strategic alliance and manage jointly. If you look at the two companies with A next to them and the two companies with B next to them are Kia, which is a subsidiary of Hyundai, and their total sales turn out to be 125 million. Billion, sorry. If you go to the next slide, what you'll see here is more of a graph of that last slide. And what we can take out of this is that we can say that Volkswagen probably next year will not be, if we were to do this same graph for next year, that Volkswagen will not be there because of their emission scandal. So we can say that their sales are definitely going to take a hit from their emission scandal. You can go to the next slide.
And that would leave Toyota pretty much by itself in the top slot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, once Volkswagen, takes this hit, and of course they've already taken it, that leaves Toyota as the dominant player in the industry.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some of the technological advances Toyota has is programmable cars not to crash. No steering wheel, brake pedal, accelerator, electronic power system, batteries, and fuel cells. So they're coming out with recharging stations in California. They also are coming out with hydrogen engines, refueling stations emerging in California, as well as LPG engines for trucks and fleet vehicles like FedEx, UPS, bus fleets, and commercial truck lines. The Chinese companies in China continues to be the largest manufacturer of automobiles and the largest market car in the world. The big four Chinese automobile manufacturers are Shanghai Automotive Industry Corporation, Dongfeng, FAW, and Beijing Automotive Group. China produces over twice as many cars and light trucks as America produces. The next slide. So here's the Toyota 5-force analysis. What we can get here is that the competitive rivalry in the automotive industry is very strong. Competition is based on differentiation and low-cost strategies. The threat of new entrants in the automotive industry is considered to be weak, as well as due to limited entry barriers, large amount of capital required to enter, and entrants can easily access suppliers and distributors. The threat to substitutes is weak due to the many types of transportation offered around the world. So buses, Uber, things like that is why the threat of substitute is very low, and as well as the densely populated cities that have an exception. The power of buyers in the automotive industry is very strong due to the amount of buyers all around the world. So those buyers are dealers and consumers. So the car dealerships that are selling these cars around the world. And the power of suppliers in the automotive industry is weak due to the amount of different suppliers around the world. This will only change if self-driving cars hit the industry market. Go to the next slide. The conclusion of the 5 forces model, since rivalry in the auto industry is so strong, Toyota's strategy must be based on lowest cost and differentiation. So a hybrid of the two strategies. Since the power of the buyers is so strong, it is important for Toyota to have a strong relationship with its dealers around the world. The dealers connect Toyota to its consumers. So the industry critical success factors are design engineering, electronic engineering, LPG research and development, battery research and development, superior dealer systems in each country, excellent quality system, and market research. I
see we're at the concluding point of the industry section. Nice review, Julian. Why is market research, and this is for anybody on the team now, But why would you think market research is a critical success factor in this industry? What do you guys think? Why is it here?
Well, you're going to have to satisfy the needs and desires of your consumers.
Jeff, if you could get a little closer to your microphone.
Yes, sir. I said you're going to need in this industry, you know, to meet the needs of the consumers, the future needs of the consumer. So you're going to need to do a lot of market research to determine what those needs are.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what we saw last night in the Harley Davidson case kind of brings us to mind. Harley is having to adapt to the fact that its market is, the segments of its market are changing dramatically because of demographics, and especially when they start looking at other nations. The unmet needs of customers in those markets are just a whole lot different than Harley's traditional market. And really the same thing is true in the automotive industry. When we say market research, we're asking customer, or we're trying to find out just what it is that comprises buyers' unmet needs. And I'm sure that the unmet needs in India are going to be a lot different than they are in the United States. As Amber's pointed out, with all this urbanization, I don't know about you, but have you seen these articles where the urban car, the city car in the future kind of looks like a Volkswagen Beetle that didn't grow up? You know, it's a little shrunk, little rounded off kind of a vehicle where two people or maybe only one can get in. They're a lot easier to find a parking place in those, a lot more room to park them. Of course, if you've got a self-driving car, the car drops you off and then goes home or parks itself for someplace out of town. But the market research in this industry is becoming a lot more important than it used to be. Back in the old days, market research was all about what color people liked, what kind of bucket seats they liked, how cushy they liked the wrapping on the steering wheel, and you know, the stereo sound system or something. But now market research in the auto industry is going to be a whole lot different because the nature of these markets is changing. I'm quite sure from having been there recently that the demands for cars in China are going to be a whole lot different than they are in India and the United States. So market research in this industry is going to be critical, and some companies are going to be good at it and some aren't. What folks get from market research is going to probably determine to some extent winners from losers when they start designing new cars. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to be doing the capabilities analysis. If you want to move to the next slide, please. This is the critical success factors report card.
Jeff, if there's some way, I know you're looking at your computer on one side and your microphone's at right angles to you. If there's some way somehow that you can periodically shout in the direction of your microphone or face it, that'll help. I know that just judging from the picture, that's a bit of a logistics problem, but whatever you can do about it would be great, would be appreciated.
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, yeah. Whenever you look this way, we can hear you.
Looking at this report card, as you'll notice, we're comparing Toyota, Volkswagen, GM, Ford, and Hyundai. And the factors 1, 2, and 3, dependability, performance and design, and quality. I just wanted to let you know that this data came from J.D. Power's company. It's a US-based company that does global marketing services. It conducts consumer satisfaction and surveys, and it collects data on product quality and buyer behavior, and it collects that data around the globe. So that being said, the first rating there, overall dependability, they were looking there at complete breakdowns, component malfunctions, things like broken trim, broken parts. And as you can see there, Ford has not done very well in that category. Your top companies are GM and Toyota as in regards to dependability. As far as the overall performance and design, that has more to do with the owner's satisfaction with the vehicle performance, its style, its functions, its instrument panel, comfort, etc. These companies are pretty evenly matched in that area. So I gave them all C's. I don't say that that's necessarily a bad thing, but they are equal in the industry. So that was based on J.D. Power's ratings. Overall quality, that one is interesting. It's looking at 90-day surveys of customers who have new vehicle ownership. And it's specifically looking at breakdowns and major malfunctions. And so as you can see, Toyota and Hyundai are just doing phenomenal there. Very, very few issues with those vehicles. Volkswagen and Ford are kind of lagging a little bit behind GM. The next thing we looked at was self-driving technology. And this is just huge as the industry changes. As you know, with more and more of these vehicles, Google right now, they recently delivered their first delivery of beer in a truck that went 300 miles without a driver, which is amazing. But you're going to see more and more self-driving vehicles. Along with that technology, you probably have already known some of the lane changing technology that will prevent you from, say, moving over into your next lane when there's a vehicle present. Those types of issues, situations, and so GM is really ahead of the pack there. Hyundai is lagging way behind Toyota. Got to be in the self-driving technology. I will say this: Toyota probably would not have performed as well there, because they really were not interested in self-driving technology. They weren't convinced that it was going to be a big deal. And then they started realizing that they were lagging. And so they have recently made a $1 billion investment. They have teamed up with experts at Stanford University. They are really going out there and looking in the Silicon Valley for experts to help them to really boost their self-driving technology for the future. So they got to be there. Otherwise, it probably would have been much lower. For the financial conditions, I pretty much just looked there at Value Line. I looked at Guru Focus. I looked at different companies that rate financials and looked at the company's financials. And Toyota is performing very well. We'll see that shortly, as is GM and Hyundai, and VW and Ford are just slightly behind. Looking at dealer systems, I used J.D. Power there as well to see J.D. Power rated the dealers in customer satisfaction, and most of these companies were rated so-so. Toyota got a C, believe it or not, and probably Hyundai was rated best in dealer systems. So what I did is I took each of these grades. A was rated 5, B a 4, C a 3, D a 2, and F a 1. We didn't have any of those. And then I just divided them, the totals by 6 to come out with a grade point average, a GPA. And as you can see, Toyota and GM were right up there as far as their critical success factors, with Ford lagging way behind, as is.
Boy, that's interesting. Poor Jeff, let me give your throat a rest. I've gotten to know Jeff a little bit in this project. Now, I want the audience to know this guy is a researcher's researcher. He's not a researcher in real life, but I think he missed his calling. I think Jeff is a market researcher or an industry or a business researcher in sheep's clothing. This guy is. Did you hear all this stuff he was talking about? He actually went out and got a rationale for every cell on this on this slide. I was terribly impressed. I think I would actually go by this matrix here, and it's really surprising that GM has come up after its bankruptcy to the point that it has. I was somewhat surprised by that. But this is supposed to be, the purpose of a critical success factor report card is allegedly to indicate which of the rivals in an industry is the most capable insofar as the most important functions to separate winners from losers. Now, very often when analysts do these things, they weight the importance of these factors. So perhaps not all the factors is equally important. And so very often what will happen is we'll have a factor of 0.10 on one, 0.2 on another, 0.5 on another, and so forth, so that they all have to add up to 1.0. And then you multiply these ratings, and when you add them up, you get the same kind of number that you see on the bottom here, but it's a weighted average. But people actually do this stuff in real life, and the folks who actually do it do exactly what Jeff did. So this is a pretty good representation of the way it's done. Way to go, Jeff.
Thank you. So just summarizing on the next slide, Toyota and GM had the highest ratings in regards to dependability. Neither manufacturer has competitive advantage in overall performance and design. Toyota and Hyundai rank highest in regards to overall quality. GM leads the pack in self-driving technology. As I noted, Toyota joined the race late. Toyota, GM, and Hyundai both strong financial positions. Toyota and Hyundai rank high in the critical success factors. So I think that was supposed to be GM, not Hyundai, sorry. Toyota and GM, and then it said with Hyundai coming close behind. Okay, let's look at the financial trends here. If you will notice, there's something very interesting that happens on these trends around, say, start looking around 2008, 2009, in that range there, 2010, 11. And so there were several dynamics that came into play with these trends that you see here. In 2009 and 10, Toyota had this surprising recall. You know, they were just known for their quality. All of a sudden, they had a big recall. Then in 2009 to 11, there was 10 million vehicles recalled. There was a power window issue in 2012. And you coupled that with the earthquake and the tsunami in March of 2011. And so you're seeing some dips there. They were doing just really outstanding in their sales back in 2006. They were the industry leader, as a matter of fact, in sales overall. So then they had these issues. So along with the drop in the sales, their profit margins went down, their returns on their investment and their returns on equity also suffered there. If you go to the next slide, please. These are the financial trends for long-term debt, equity, capital, and leverage. You can see there that their long-term debt has creeped up over time. What's happening is they've done some investing into plants and new technologies. Equity, it took that dip there around the recession time, but it's slowly picking up. There was a little bit of a dip, I think, between 2011, 12, right in there. I don't know if you noticed, it was dipping down some. And the leverage sort of dropped a little bit. There was rebates and things that were given during that time because of the the issues with the recalls, and so that accounts for those. Okay, you want to move on to the next slide? So we had a record financial performance in 2006. Then they experienced their first operating loss in over 6 decades in the second half of 2008 due to the financial crisis, reduction in consumer spending. If we're in a recession, then consumers tend not to buy new cars. Poor performance between 2009 and 11 due to the recalls that we talked about. Their equity is steadily increasing and their leverage ratio is reduced. reducing. And we'll talk about that more further down the line.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
We are now working in, we're gonna talk here about operations. Operations is one part that is very important for Toyota. One of the most important things that have helped in Toyota is that they have a motor workers union that was established in 1946, and they also signed a joint declaration of labor management in 1962. The relationship between labor and management is based on mutual trust and respect, because Toyota enhances working conditions in order to improve productivity. So this is very important part for Toyota. They have a very good relationship with their employees. And as we hear in Dr. Ronnie's lecture 5, motivation is one of the most important things in a strategy, because we need to have the employees engaged when we want to implement new strategies. In operations also, we wanted to talk here about outsourcing. Toyota has not been known for outsourcing its production, since Toyota's greatest source of quality, cost, and productivity advantage has been its internal production. However, we have some agreements here, as you can see in our slide, such as the outsourcing agreement with US and Atlas International, because sometimes Toyota needs to get some parts done, such as the one that you see here, the truck beds. This agreement started in 1972. Other outsourcing was the production with for Singapore. This one started in 1977, and actually this continued in October 1979. Then we have the production outsourcing agreement entered into with PT, Astra Daihatsu Motor, and Indonesia, and it started in 2003. And lastly, the production outsourcing agreement entered with Arab American Vehicles Company in Egypt in 2012. Next. Okay, so in here we have the manufacturing operations around the world by regions. As I told you before, Toyota has 53 manufacturing plants in different parts around the world. You can see them all here, organized by regions. They actually have operations in 27 countries. And as you can see, Toyota is one of the companies that have production all around the world. So this is actually a very good competitive advantage when we want to compare it with its competitors. Next.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Toyota's quality systems. In 1961, Toyota adopted through the company their total quality control system. You saw they won the award for their quality 4 years later, or 3 years later. The implementation of total quality control activities is the basis for the improvements in Toyota's products. They integrated their quality and lean manufacturing and production systems. The lean was to eliminate waste and improve their efficiency, thereby lowering their cost of operations. Toyota's production system has two components. It has the Hadoka, which is automation with the human touch. The concept is that if an employee sees a problem, they immediately stop the production and they correct the problem. And they've found that they can save money also through their just-in-time inventory systems, where they do not have a lot of inventory on hand. The inventory arrives as it's needed. They spend a high amount of their capital in research and development because they want to offer more innovative vehicles. They're particularly interested in their safety features of their vehicles. We talked about the lane departure alerts just a few minutes ago, blind spot monitoring, pedestrian safety systems, and the like. Okay. Kaizen and Kanban are functions of their lean. Kaizen is the heart of their production system. It is related to continuous improvement. Employees are trained to follow the system guidelines, and day-to-day improvements are implemented. And the Kanban has to do with their inventory control systems, where as they're on the factory floors, inventory is replenished as it is used. And so there's just a constant rolling on of the production, and it's done very efficiently. So.
I suppose something that's important here is that these systems were developed in Japan, partly because Deming could not get the ear of the American car manufacturers, so he went to Japan, and the Japanese thought he really had the right idea, and they picked up on Deming's ideas. And the result was the Japanese manufacturers outperformed the Americans for quite some time, as I mentioned earlier. But the key point here is that these systems were initiated at Toyota and eventually spread through the Japanese manufacturers. And now, of course, they're used throughout the world. But these techniques that today are widespread, were initiated in Japan and were the reason why at one time Toyota and other Japanese manufacturers had competitive advantage, and was due to their quality systems. They simply made better cars.
You ready to talk about the quality awards? Okay.
Okay. So we're going to talk about here about the quality awards. Jeff, I take it here. The Deming Prize, as I talked to you guys in the history, in 1965, this is one of the biggest accomplishments of Toyota. The committee meeting in October found that in 1965, Toyota needed to get this award for all their quality, and it actually was held on November at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. In 1970, Japan awarded Toyota with its first quality control medal. In 2016, actually, this is really good for Toyota, received 8 awards for excellent safety standards and technologies by Southeast Asia's Vehicle Safety Assessment. What happened is after the recalls in 2010, Toyota has been working really hard to make sure that the company works in safety and try to get a safe and pleasant experience for all their customers. These awards are for topping the various crash tests, for its safety technology, and for its efforts to improve safety standards in Southeast Asia. Other awards include the Society of Automobile Engineers of Japan, awards from the Japan Society of Mechanical Engineers, and you can see other awards that are important here for them. Okay. Jeff?
Give me just 1 moment, please. Okay, we're going to talk about organization strengths and weaknesses. Toyota's organizational units are all strong with the possible exception of its management approach to entering into China, and this has to do with cultural differences. And Japan and China are not, China's not fond of Japan. The organizational strengths are strong brand recognition and market position, robust investments in research and development, strong quality system and manufacturing production processes, extensive production and distribution networks. Emerging market sales have increased significantly. Their weaknesses are product recalls after 2010 have affected their image, and there have some declining sales in some key geographics.
The point that was just made, I'm sure that this team probably expected me to jump in here, but Jeff just mentioned that the Chinese and the Japanese don't like each other very much. Mm-hmm. And we could have probably mentioned that either in economy or market. I would imagine market. But for those of you in the audience who are not or either not old enough or don't remember, before the Second World War broke out, before Pearl Harbor, the Japanese invaded China, and that war continued as part of the Second World War. For that reason, the Chinese capital had to be moved inland. But there were atrocities really by both sides, but the Japanese atrocities are a big part of that history. It was a pretty brutal part of the war. And back then, the mechanics of warfare were a lot less refined and sophisticated. It was just plain gory. So that has carried on through the present. So the result is that Toyota, a Japanese company, is having a heck of a time breaking into the Chinese market. And yet that's the big, fast-growing market. So this is a real strategic issue. I imagine that this team's going to talk about it some more, so I'm probably overdoing this. But if you listen to the recent news, you know that there are arguments and sometimes near military conflicts in the East China Sea and the South China Sea over these islands that China is building out of sand dunes. And there's a real conflict over the China Sea because underneath it, there is a large amount of oil and natural gas. Japan has no oil and natural gas of its own. There's none on that island. And of course, China needs all the energy that it can get. So we have both of these countries really wondering what's underneath the ocean. And neither of them like each other, so they get into arguments over it all the time. And this is probably going to go on for quite a while. At the end of the day, the result is that Japan and Toyota, the smaller of the two rivals, is in a difficult position to compete for markets on the Chinese mainland. How Toyota deals with this over time in the future when the largest and fastest growing market for cars is China is a real enigma. But I'm quite sure that the executives in Toyota probably never stop talking about it. This is probably their biggest marketing challenge. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
And speaking of marketing, next we're going to talk about marketing capability. As far as our product line, complete product line, excluding motorcycles and ATVs, Toyota currently does not offer those products. They do offer hybrid products and environmental friendly products. The pricing is differentiation and added value justifies profitable pricing. Place and location, they have manufacturing operations and dealers all over the world, as we've already discussed, in China, Japan, India, and United States. They're global, every major geographic market, and the promotion, pricing strategies, and marketing strategies are used effectively, especially social media is used for their advertising and marketing. They use rebates as promotions in getting consumers into the Toyota market.
Okay, for the capabilities conclusions, one of Toyota's competitive advantage are its superior quality assurance methods. As we talked before, as Jeff explained to us, Kaizen, the continuous improvement, and the Kanban inventory flow control are probably one of the most important and most relevant and actually have influence in the United States is these two methods and in all the production that Toyota does around the world. Toyota is very efficient in its production of cars by using high technology and applying lean manufacturing production in its operation process. For example, here in our next bullet, you see that Toyota has differentiated from its competitors by offering automobiles with high fuel efficiency. I'm sure if you had in the past Toyotas, I had in the past, and actually my family buys Toyotas, and it's because they are high quality fuel efficiency. And right now, with the prices of the gas going down, it actually doesn't affect too much. But when the prices were $3 and more, these kind of cars were very good for this type of market. We actually have here also that the application of quality systems, such as the just-in-time system, have been very good and having helping not only Toyota, but other companies that have been trying to copy this model and applying the Toyota way. And if you have heard before, the Toyota way is actually talking about this, the just-in-time system. Toyota focuses also in continuous reduction of waste. We talked about this before. When this reduction of waste is for everything, all the resources, and they do this daily. They keeping control on the reduction of waste. The continuous innovation. Recently, the company is interested in the adoption of robotics and artificial intelligence in its manufacturing process. So this is something that is very important for the company, and this is part of one of their objectives for the future.
So this is what we're going to go over now is the goals section. So we're going to go over the goals hierarchy, the financial goals, market position goals, strategic objectives, and functional objectives. So here's the goals hierarchy chart. What you'll see here is that Toyota's level of risk is completely acceptable. Its financial results are superior, and that their favorable market position, that they are not dominant in China. I would say that their concentration would be for the long-term growth, because their highest priority right now is developing their new concept of electronic cars like the Prius. Another reason why it is focused on the long-term growth is that the future of cars is kind of turning more into electronic and going green and self-driving cars.
Okay, I'm going to discuss the financial goals, and if you can move to the next slide, please. Okay, if you'll notice on this slide, we're talking about projections from 2016 through 2020 on our sales, operation profit margins, return on investment, and equity. I think what's very impressive here, as you can see, is sales are really starting to skyrocket again, and really on the increase, okay? And the operation profit margin is going up as well, okay? So when you see the sales and the profit margin going up, then the return on investment jumps as well, okay? The faster you turn over your capital, the more turns you get, the profit margin goes up, the return on investment goes up.
Good for you, Jeff. So everybody can appreciate what Jeff said. If you've got operating profit margin going up and sales going up, by definition, we don't need to go through the algebra now, but by definition, return on investment has to go up. And so we see that the operating profit margin and the ROI graphs look pretty much the same. But it's possible that you can have a higher profit margin, but not have a higher return on investment if your volume isn't going up. Or if your volume's going up and your margin's not going up, you might not have higher return on investment. But if you have both, it's kind of hard not to have a higher return on invested capital. Our ROE is a different animal, but the relationship between sales, profit margins, and return on invested capital is pretty much a lock.
On the return on equity, I don't know if you notice the projection there, it's not quite as steep as, say, the return on investment. And that has to do with their leverage. If you look on the next slide, their leverage is kind of going down.
Way to go, Jeff. Absolutely right.
So,
next slide.
Okay. We see that leverage is dropping there, and that would account for that. Interesting. Not sure what happened with our slides here.
Equity's going up faster than, you got capital twice.
Yeah.
I think the one on the top must be debt. I would imagine.
Yeah, it was.
And so basically, we've got a mislabeled graph there. you guys might want to fix that and send me the new copy so when I post it on Moodle,
Okay.
nobody else will be fooled.
Yeah. Sorry about
When you add debt and equity, you get capital, and equity goes up faster than debt, right, Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
I say, does equity go up faster than debt? That would be an explanation for leverage going down,
Right.
I think.
Their debt is increasing, but so is their equity. Don't know exactly what word. Let's move on to the goals summary. So as you can see here, their sales had a change of 15% increase. Their long-term debt increased by 8%, equity by 16%, and capital by 13.5%. No change in their profit margin. Return on investment and equity went up by 3 points, and their leverage dropped by 2 points.
Yeah, you've got a nice operating margin of about 20%. So, I suppose if you asked for more, you'd probably have to price yourself out of the market a little bit. And nice growth in ROI and ROE. But as we were speaking earlier, you've got equity going up virtually twice as fast as debt. And that explains why leverage comes down. And that's these are smiling numbers. This is good-looking financial information.
So our market position goals is to increase our presence in emerging markets, including China and India, increase our number of dealers in China and India, and remain the leading automotive choice among consumers in the United States and Japan. We want to increase our hybrid sales and become the global technology leader in the industry, since we know that that's a growing opportunity. We want to develop new concepts among electric and hydrogen vehicles, and expand products to offer to include motorcycles and ATVs, because Toyota currently does not offer those products.
Regarding the strategic objectives, we sort of have a hybrid objectives here. The first one is differentiation. That's part of their business model. It's a business level strategy. Encompasses the overall competitive theme. They're looking to stand out as the best. I think right now we're looking, as far as differentiation, is to, consumers are very interested in more fuel efficient and economical cars that are cleaner and have less impact on our environment. So Toyota has differentiated by developing the Prius. They're also looking at some other options, such as hydrogen, for instance. And they are also offering a broad range of price positions, so that they have a car to try to meet every consumer group as far as their ability to purchase a new vehicle. Low cost, they're looking at operating very efficiently, high quality products so that there's less repairs, and being innovative in that. One of the ways they're saving money is by, for instance, by utilizing the same platforms for several different makes of the vehicle, and that reduces their cost overall.
Regarding functional objectives, we've talked a little bit about how Toyota is famous for their quality system and how they've won the Deming Prize, as well as the efficiency. They're very well known for their fuel efficient cars and their quality system, which helps avoid manufacturing losses, as well as the interchangeable parts that they use on their cars, so that there's not too many changes that need to be made. All cars usually have the same parts, which has reduced cost by about 30%. Also, their innovation. Toyota reaches growing environmental safe markets through the production of their Toyota Prius, as well as a joint venture with the BMW electric car. The customer responsiveness. Toyota's dealer system, warranty, and market research to identify new design, concepts, and technology. All these are the building blocks of a competitive advantage for Toyota.
Yeah, you know, it's when we go through these rubrics, this is a rubric for what the authors call the building blocks of competitive advantage, or the, what's the other thing, not sources, but the roots of competitive advantage. In another book they produced, they call them the building blocks. But you kind of, you know, these rubrics are real useful, but you still have to engage your brain when you use them. And I think when we do this, we need to sort of use the thing the same way you use the goals hierarchy. So you look at quality and you say, well, all right, how you doing in quality? Well, we're not going to give up on it, but you know, we've got a pretty good quality system. That, you know, we're going to, you know, our objective is to continue to produce first-rate quality cars. Efficiency, how good is Toyota in making cars efficiently? Well, they're pretty damn good. Yeah. And this move toward interchangeable parts and reducing the number of platforms, that'll certainly move them in the right direction. So that seems to be well in hand. But then we get to innovation and customer responsiveness, and we've got a completely different set of problems, because those targets, those standards are dynamic. They keep moving. So whatever Toyota is producing today probably will not be nearly good enough in 5 years from now, will it? Toyota's has done very well with the Prius, but you know, the real question that its managers are probably asking, as well as its competitors, what does it do for an Encore? What's its next act? And the way to find out, of course, is partly by going out and finding out what consumers' unmet needs are or will be. And the real success that Toyota had was figuring out what consumers were going to need 10 or 15 years before the Prius was introduced. And that came out of good research, and then they quietly and unknown went about the task of figuring out how to move toward an electrically charged, electrically powered car. Decided they need a stepping stone called the hybrid, which had a small gas engine and electric system as the first step, and boy, it sold like hotcakes. Now the question is, what is it that the consumer, not what it needs today, that hand's already been dealt. The question is, what will the consumer's needs be, unmet needs be, 10 years from now? And if history is any guide, Toyota must think already that they know what that need is going to be, just the way they did when they designed the Prius without anybody knowing about it. Now, as analysts, our challenge is to figure out what is it that they're working on. And that's when we get into strategy, because based upon the alternatives, then General Motors or Volkswagen or someone else will have to figure out how to counter it. Okay.
Okay, moving on to strategy. Let's go on to the next slide. And we're going to talk about NSOS model. If you recall, that was the 4 different growth strategies based on products and markets. If you look over on the upper right-hand side there, that was when Toyota moved their existing products into new markets. And that, in 1956, that was when they first moved out of Japan. And in 1984, NUMMI is the joint venture with GM that operated in California from, I think, 1994 to 1984 to 2010. It was eventually sold to Tesla. Then moving over to your left on market penetration. Market penetration has to do with your existing products and your existing markets, and how are you going to exploit that? And that would be through dealer development, promotions, through their advertising, all with the goal of obtaining higher market share. Going down to the bottom left, product development looks at new products in existing markets. And as we've discussed earlier, the Prius is definitely the standard there. Also, we're looking at fuel cell cars, hydrogen powered cars. And then moving over down to the bottom right, product proliferation talks about new products and new markets. And this is kind of getting into some interesting stuff with self-driving cars, and also these joint ventures with companies like Uber, Lyft, and Gett. These they're all basically the same. These ride-sharing companies. So that's Ansoff's growth matrix for Toyota.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys about the integration. We have two types of integration here. We have horizontal and vertical. The most important points for the horizontal integration are the acquisitions and mergers of competitors. And here we find, as Jeff was talking about, NUMMI, Toyota and General Motors joined the venture in the United States, known as New United Motors Manufacturing, Inc. It has been very known around the world, and it has been actually helping Toyota in all the productions of their new projects. The next one is the partnership with Daihatsu Motor. It started in 1967, but now in 2016, the company Toyota is trying to acquire Daihatsu. Daihatsu is a small Japanese automotive company, and Toyota is after having the partnership with them, have finding that this could be the best thing for them just to acquire them and offer better products. The next one is Toyota and Mazda partnership for hybrid system technology license in 2010. In 2011, we have a strategic partnership between Microsoft and Toyota on the next generation telematics. And I'm going to explain to you what those telematics means. Toyota is working to create a world of smart mobility where traveling by vehicle is both safe and pleasant. The next generation technologies will help cars to engage with drivers, exchanging information and communication in a deeper level. Information technology is very important for them, and therefore that information technology will change the relationship between the customers and the car. The customers will be able to get suggestions on everything from routes to restaurants. So it's kind of the relationship that right now they have with the navigation system, but actually will be an interrelationship between the car and the customers based on the preferences of the customer and the daily drive. So it will be a lot of fun to drive those cars. In addition, we have actually here the Salesforce and Toyota from a strategic alliance to build Toyota's Friend. Toyota Friend is a social network. It's a private social network that connects Toyota customers with their cars, their dealership, and with Toyota. So in case it is any problem that needs to be fixed between those three components, the customers will be able to communicate either with Toyota or the dealership. Toyota Friend will also provide a variety of product and service information, as well as essential maintenance tips, creating a rich car ownership experience. And the last one that we have here in the list is the Toyota and BMW. We already talked about that. I think that during the whole presentation, we have saying that this partnership is very important because these two automobile companies have been getting together in this industry because they want to be in the mid-long term, do extensive research in environmental friendly technologies such as the electric cars. Next. And now here we have the vertical acquisitions and joint ventures with suppliers. We don't have too many, but these ones are the most important. As you see here in the slide, we have some spin-offs, such as Nippon Denso Company that used to do parts for Toyota, Aisin Tsuki Company that used to work with the manual transmission production. Is probably one of the biggest suppliers for Toyota. Panasonic EV, which is 60% owned by Toyota and develops car batteries for Toyota's hybrid automobiles. And in 1966, Toyota acquired Hino, which built trucks.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the international business strategy. And Toyota has like a global, it's an interesting business model, but the global business model is like an amoeba. If you look at Toyota, that's like the nucleus of an amoeba with little organelles scattered about, being the 5 regions. So Toyota has its headquarters in Tokyo, and from there, centralized strategic decision-making takes place. And then the operations management is decentralized into these regional locations. And this brings optimal economic results, financial, market, and operation, procurement, et cetera. So if you can move to the next slide, I want to really look a little more carefully at the organizational overview. And what happened is here, Toyota has gone through several restructurings recently. In 2011, they kind of promoted some autonomous region-based managements. And then in 2013, they kind of split off into 4 business units. They found these things were causing a lot of cross-functional coordination issues and increasing costs, and due to disproportionate amount of time and effort being spent trying to integrate. So they made a new change just this year. It's just been implemented in April. And if you look at the very top, Toyota Motor Company's head office, that's that nucleus in that amoeba. That's the Toyota head company. And as you can see, from there, the centralized strategic decisions are made, and you have these divisions there, the non-divisional groups, divisional groups, and frontier research. Just to speak just briefly, the divisional groups have like business development, external affairs and public affairs, information systems, accounting, sales, finance, purchasing, production control. And then the non-divisional groups are more like their corporate strategy division and governance management departments. Now they've, in their most recent change, the 4 business units now are 2. There's business unit 1 and there's business unit 2. Business unit 1 encompasses North America, Europe, and African regions, and the Japan Sales Business Group, whereas the business unit 2 is China, Asia, Middle East, and North Africa, East Asia, Oceania, Latin America, and the Caribbean regions. And then as you see underneath of those are these, basically they're product-based. They're moving from a functional-based system to a more product-based system. So it's becoming a more product-based organization. They're trying to dissolve some of the barriers within the company to eliminate unnecessary coordination work, to ensure that all their team members' efforts will be leveraged toward the purpose of making even better cars, and the development of a talented workforce. So under each of these business units are advanced research and development engineering, Toyota Compact Car, the mid-size car, the CV company, Lexus International, their powertrain company, their connected company, and advanced research and development and engineering. It's sort of like almost like a matrix there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a new design. I was unaware of it, so Jeff is educating me here. So we had a kind of a product group at one time. Now we're splitting up management geographically on the basis of product lines and on functional responsibilities at headquarters. Is that right? We have a 3-dimensional matrix, actually, if I've understood you correctly.
Sure, and I think it's important to point out that this is a test for them, and they are very open that if it doesn't work, they're going to move to the next thing, which I think is kind of really, from my understanding of lean, you know, is a really a lean thing, because you keep trying, and if that doesn't work, move to the right. So I kind of experienced that at work quite a bit. You know, we look for solutions and we monitor it. Say like if we're doing an A3 for 30, 60, and 90 days, and If we cannot come to a acceptable conclusion there, then we'll move on to the next best thing, and we'll trial that.
Doing that on a production line is one thing. Doing it with 100,000 employees and what do you say, 56 plants around the world? That's another thing, boy. But I bet you Mayflower loves them if they're going to move all those people all over the world.
Right. So that's their organizational overview as it stands.
Okay. So today, unlike in the past, we've got a matrix. A year ago, we didn't.
So your class next year may show something different. Okay. So I want to do the implementation project. Let's see. Okay, implementation projects. I think the first thing here is to look at top management succession. And what that entails is, you have all this knowledge capital at the top of an organization. And so you really have to strategize. You have to look forward and say, okay, well, what's going to happen when, our senior leaders, retire or move or whatever, how is that going to impact our company? You've got to be prepared for that. Toyota, as we talked about, has implemented quite successfully the Kaizen continuous improvement model that has been adopted all over the world. I work in a hospital and we talk about Kaizen continuously. The Kanban was, if you recall, is the process inventory. The inventory is brought to the factory floor as it is needed. The next thing we want to talk about is the Prius. We talked about differentiation and the company moving towards these more economical vehicles and more environmentally friendly vehicles. Analysts believe that other industries can learn from Toyota's social media marketing schemes by using Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for their advertising. That is very important when we talked about our Porter's 5 Forces. I think that was a big thing as far as reaching your customers, because they're such powerful players in the industry. They have very low switching costs, and you better be on top of them, or they'll go to the next best, the next vehicle over. So Toyota offers rebates to consumers to be the automotive brand of choice, such as 0% APRs. They offer the cash backs. They offer leases that are low in cost, and they want to establish the industry-leading marketing methods and solve energy problems with new transportation technology.
Arigato gozaimasu. I've done business in Japan. I know how to say that word.
Arigato seimashita.
Arigato gozaimasu. Wakarimashita?
If you see that, we actually put a picture of one of the electric cars that they have in other countries. So we thought that was interesting to have the first car that they had, one of the latest models that they are trying to implement for the future.
So this is one of those little cars that might get along in a metropolitan market, in a city.
Mm-hmm.
When Amber moves to the city with the other
70%.
Yeah, with the other 70%, along with the what do you guys call? What's your generation now? The
Millennials.
Millennials, yeah. So when you guys, when you millennials move into the city, this is what you're going to drive, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep my Lexus. Okay, I think it says thank you, so I presume that means that we have come to the end.
Yes.
Okay, that was a very complete, very thorough review. It took right around an hour and 40 minutes, so very, very complete. Let's go, if you, Amber, if you can bring this down to the, not to the point where we get rid of the screen, but where we can you know, yeah, that's it. So we can see who's on the side. Click the participants, whatever it is down below it, manage participants or manage whatever it is, so that we can see who else is there. Can you see who else is in the room?
We have about 8 to 10 others.
Oh, okay, so you can see it. Oh, I can too now, yeah. Okay, do you guys, any of you guys have any questions or comments at all? Jared, what do you think? Jared, I unmuted you. We can hear you. Jared's asleep. Jared went to the bathroom.
Dr. Roney, it's Kim.
Hi, Kim. Oh, there's Jared. Jared came back.
I had my camera unplugged. So.
Oh, okay. I unmuted your microphone though.
He liked the Toyota presentation so much that he said, I think I'm going to run and buy a Toyota.
Go out
I
and
don't
buy
know
a
what she just
Toyota.
said, but I thought it was pretty good, whatever.
You have any questions?
No, I thought they did an outstanding job, actually.
Okay. Well, now you've got a standard to live up to.
Thank
Well, that's going to be hard.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, in that case, I think a lot of you have to get up early to go to work. I know that. So I think the one thing I'll do now is go ahead and stop the recording because the presentation's over. So